Now let's get to the next discussion. Some communities in Mangu Local Government area of Plateau State have been seriously hit following the recent attacks, leading to the rise of death tolls in the state. The killings, which is believed to be or to have been started by unknown gunmen, have claimed many lives and property, with many persons still missing. The situation has left many homeless, as investigations are still ongoing to bring the perpetrators to book and restore normalcy in the state. Now, the people of Mangu are still calling on the government to intensify efforts to ensure the protection of lives and property in the state. That is our focus of our next discussion. Joining us in the studio is a security consultant, Darlington Umaru. Darlington, good morning. Good to see you.
Welcome. Good morning once again.
Yes.
Always a pleasure being here.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Only that the issues we're calling you to talk about are not necessarily the issues that everyone is going to cheer about because of the situation, especially in Plateau State. Plateau was peaceful. Plateau had, in fact, I recall a few years ago where the locals and other tribes were invited to play a novelty match as a symbol of friendship, as a symbol of peace. And that was done. You know, they started even, sharing food and giving food to each other to eat. We saw all of that on TV. And then all of a sudden, there's a breakdown of peace in the state. What are you seeing there? What's responsible for this new wave of killings again in Plateau State?
Well, perhaps the scenario you just painted, I'm not sure is forced within the last 10 years, the last one decade.
I think it was. Of course it was. We saw novelty matches played. Because
Plateau State, even before the advent of this administration, has had its own fair share of conflict. And it's been there, and it's the same conflict that stretches across the north central region, that middle belt, that north central belt. The kind of conflict you experience on that belt is different from the conflict you find in the western part of the north and the eastern part of the north, all of them in the northern region of this country. Northeast, what you find is pure terrorism, talking about the likes of Boko Haram that started it and then now snowballed into ISWAP. If you come down to the northwest, more of banditry, kidnapping, money-making, venture, illegal way of raising money, kidnapping people. Some will die in the process, some will be released in the process. But that middle belt, the kind of insecurity we've been experiencing is different from the other two. Just like it's different from what you find in the south, talking about the three regions, of the south now. So that scenario you painted, apparently, yes, but we've had all kinds of conflicts on that belt, particularly the plateau axis. We've had the intracommunal conflict. We've had the intercommunal conflict. We've had the herders-farmers conflict. We've also had the political conflict. And so we also have had all of them they happen in different local governments. But the one we're discussing this morning, the Mangu one, apparently is the herder-farmers conflict, which is very prominent in Benue on that same belt, Nasarawa on that same belt, the same north central. Before it started happening, even in Benue and Nasarawa, Plateau State had experienced series of it in the past. Perhaps at the break of all of that was when you had that peace. What looked like, let's come together and embrace peace for once. Plateau State conflict is as if the state is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. waiting to be ignited at any point, any slighted provocation. Because the herders, farmers issue has a root and has not been uprooted. They've not been able to moderate peace between the herders and the farmers. And then they've not been able to agree on how the herders should manage their cattle. What sparked off this last one? Somebody went to his farm, was told that his farm was being destroyed, and they say he went to the farm to check what was happening. He was killed. What led to the killing? Perhaps, apparently, somebody would have said, why would you be destroying my crops with your animals? And then at the end of the day, allegedly, the man was killed by the herder. And so news went back, and so the thing started gradually and has gotten to an alarming point. All of this is made possible by the level of proliferation of small arms and light weapons we have in that region. It is alarming because Plateau is closer to the northern borders that are so porous in terms of the movement of illicit firearms into this country. Of course, I will not say so much about all of that because even Mr. President at the time sounded as if, I'm talking about the incumbent president now, sounded as if he was overwhelmed by the activities of smugglers, of illicit arms into this country via the routes in the north, specifically. Beyond all of that, that same region, that same Plateau region, you have the local fabricators who have gone so sophisticated. Some were arrested last year, manufacturers of assault rifle, the AK-47, not the AKM now or the AK-49. But when I saw the AK-47 that they manufactured, talking about the local fabricators now, I was alarmed.
Is that peculiar to Jos, to Plateau State now, this issue of local fabrication of
It's
weapons?
not, but the location of discourse now is Plateau. The problem of local fabricators cuts across the entire country. And certain things serve as boosters to all of them. We have looked at this under the Presidential Committee of Small Arms and Light Weapons, PRESCOM. And then you've been able to see it's a wide topic. If you want to look at all of the states where you find all of this, it's now as if they are in all the states. Because it's a trade that is booming. They help produce and make available cheap firearms.
Equally deadly.
A firearm is manufactured for just two reasons. Just two reasons. To kill or maim. If a gun is pointed at anybody, it is either that gun is meant to kill that person or maim the person. If you are lucky to maim you, in most times, maiming comes from the state actors who want to arrest and prosecute you. But the non-state actors are ready to take away the lives of any man or just take it off you. So those are just the two reasons why any firearm is manufactured. It's not meant to, you don't use it to decorate your living room.
Right, because I listened to you, giving that extensive introduction to the implications and the variations of violence across the country. And of course, we are speaking about the killings in Plateau State. And of course, I also want to ask again what climate change has to do with all of this, because we've also seen the narrative driving this issue of herder-farmer clashes. And of course, this episode of violence there also has to do, if going by the reports now, it also has to do with, herder-farmer clashes. This issue of climate change, now, where would you put it in situating this round of violence in Plateau?
Apparently, it has not also helped. Don't forget that what we have, these herders we have in Nigeria are nomads. They are not those, the type you find in other parts of the world, where these animals will be kept in one place and food are brought to them. That may change, particularly even during dry season, when you don't have much of this grass or food or feed for the animals to feed on. They will encroach farms. Because nobody monitors or police them, the grazing routes have also been invaded. And then if you invade the grazing routes, these herders must feed their animals, and they have to move from one point to the other, even though modern day does not permit a nomadic grazing anymore. But that is still what is what we still practice in Nigeria. They have made their cases, this government that will be living in a matter of days. Right. Buhari tried as much as possible to introduce certain measures to settle this herder farmer issue. But it didn't work. It didn't see the light of day. States were supposed to be involved, but many of them shied away. Provide places for these persons to stay, settle, and then take care of their animals in each state. There's no one state in Nigeria, I repeat, there's no one state in Nigeria where animals are not owned. And we make one common mistake. What is out there in the public, the common belief, is that all these animals are owned by the Fulanis. Mm. That is not true. Mm. That is not true. Mm. In most states, in Ondo State here, you find people who own animals. In Lagos State, many own animals. But what is common is that the Fulanis, in most times, are the ones who are employed to take care of those animals. You pay them. And so in most times, they will want to protect those animals because they must give records if anyone goes missing. But that all these animals everywhere that are grazing are owned entirely, no, that is not correct. Governors own some of these animals, and some of these persons, they employ these persons who will give account if any animal is missing. But that is not to say that what they are doing is right. Do we also know that these grazers, they also suffer a lot? They suffer what? They suffer from animal rustling. Mm. People attack them to steal these animals. And then you want to wonder how possible it is for somebody to steal a cow and put that same cow into a vehicle and take it away. That is where the expertise of handling comes in. The Mayati Allah will make cases for their own, while the other people will make cases for their own people as well. But what is interesting here is the amount of lives that are lost for the sake of animals. But even so, what has the government done to really correct all of this? These are not issues that started today. The issue in Benue, I talked about that middle belt. Mm. That is where Plateau State is. That's where you find Plateau State. It's a common problem that is supposed to attract the attention of the governors on that belt to sit, hold meetings, invite consultants and experts to advise you on how to bring that matter to an end once and for all. But are they really interested? Rather, they politicize the conflict. That is where the political conflict comes into it. Their interest. Sometimes it may not be herders, farmers' issue. It could be, like I said, intracommunal issue. But because they want to gain attention and public sympathy, one is blackmailed. It is immediately said that it is the herders-farmers conflict. In most times, we have discovered that it is not. Particularly, an instance a good example is the Benue State issue. If you are not on ground or you don't have the know-how, you may not be able to separate all of these conflicts. But the impression they will first give to you, at the end of the day, will be the wrong impression.
And are you also saying that these false narratives would also have an implication on the cycles of violence? You know, the fact that maybe they may be never-ending, or the fact that the issue of never-ending...
People profit from it, so why would they want it to end? People profit from it. People profit from it. I told you about the illicit circulation of firearms here. If there are no conflicts, how would you make sales? If you don't fuel some of all of that, how do you, and some of these persons are sponsors of certain persons. So what are we talking about? The man who manufactures firearms, we have the issue of domestic supply, we have the issue of regional supply, we have the issue of international supply. All of these suppliers cannot do business if there are no conflicts.
How challenging would it be to mop up this small arms that has cost us a lot of challenge in the area of security? How challenging would it be to mop these things up?
The biggest challenge is lack of sincerity.
On the part of who?
On the part of the government and on the part of the people. When I say government, I talk about specifically the state governments. On a monthly basis, they collect what is called security votes. What are they deployed into? Lagos State, for instance, has a trust fund for security. Equipment are bought to support the security agents to fight crime and criminal activities in the state. Even though the kind of insecurity we have in Lagos is not the same thing you find at the Middle Belt. But yet, I said somewhere in another television station, who asks questions about how security votes are spent? Is security vote like what you call allowance for the governors?
No one even knows the amount of that.
That is the most painful aspect. But yet, what we know is that on monthly basis.
And the money is huge. That's all we know.
Well, if you say it's huge, that means you have an idea.
From the reports we got is huge, but nobody knows the exact amount.
Mike, whoever started that thing called security votes has not done this country any good. Now, withdraw the amount you share to governors on monthly basis as security votes and push it to the purchase of equipment for the security agents to work. Or take part of it, give to the boys on the field and see whether you will not get better results. Today, you remember the problem in Sudan. America, for those that could not fly out, and allies, they put them in buses, drove them for about 800 kilometers to their destination from where they were taken away. There were no escorts. What you had were combat UAVs that escorted those buses. Combat UAVs, drones that were ready to take out anybody. Do you have that here? Do you have enough surveillance drones? If you, in 12 months, that will give you 1 year. The amount a governor will collect as security vote between month A and month Z, put it together, use it to buy equipment, surveillance equipment for that state. A lot of these crimes are not busted. In most times, the security agents are not proactive. But they cannot be proactive without equipment. You don't have surveillance helicopters enough to survey and check activities. Look at what happened in Mangu Local government. A report said between midnight, they were still there till daytime. Nobody repaired them. The police said one of theirs that was living in a neighboring village was the one who reported the case. And then the matter passed on to the police commissioner, who now deployed men to that place to repel the attackers. Again, the Fulanis have also had their own case. They said, according to the Meati Allah chairman in Plateau, he said their men, over 100 have been killed. Dead bodies are littered in bushes, and their animals have been rustled. A lot of them that nobody is talking about them. They are calling for police protection. This other side is calling for police protection. Who is to be protected in this matter?
It complicates the whole matter because there are words against each other. Who do we, and everyone is denying, no, what you're saying is not true. No, what you're saying is not true.
But what is paramount is that Nigeria and Plateau State has lost lives. Over 200 lives have been lost, that's a fact. And many have been maimed. Eban talked about his wife and 4 children who were killed, slaughtered.
And that's irreplaceable.
It's really a difficult situation right now, but we look forward to what the security agents will do to return normalcy to that side. And the governor, exactly. All right, we have to leave you here now. Security consultant Darlington Umaru, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.